Welcome back to Rowrah. It's the British Open for Coma Cadets. Wood and Thompson are on the front row of the grid with Oliver York and Sean Butcher in third and fourth. Easton and Edgar are there on row 3 ahead of Draper and Quinn on row 4. An interesting racing prospect for the Coma Cadets, and it's sure to be wheel-to-wheel action, and the track conditions haven't really improved. If anything, they've actually got a little bit worse. So here we go, off the line. A good start there from Wood as they bow down to the first corner. A little bit of jostling in the first chicane, and oh, there's a spin, it's Edgar! Edgar in the middle of the pack has spun it! Down to the very back of the field. There's the 17 rejoining the fray, down to last position. It's really going to be a tough afternoon for him from here.
Yeah, that's an almost impossible task now from the back of the field. Spins out in the chicane from 6th place down to last, and it is Tom Wood, the 9 kart, that leads it. The rest of the karts stream out of Iredale Hairpin and down to the bottom of the circuit through the stewardesses.
I think I just saw Ben Wooldridge, who started down in 12th, moving into the top 6 there. He's sliding around all over the place, but I think he's managed to make up some good ground. Back to the front, and we've got Wood and York at the front of the field in the 9 and the 5, battling for the lead here, desperately trying to make the move.
The S9 kart, Lewis Thompson there in 3rd place. We mentioned this in the last programme, Jake, but just for viewers new to the sport, the difference between 9 and S9. Anybody running a number 9, anything 1 to 15 means you finished in those positions in the British Karting Championships last year. If you see a number that says has got an S in front of it, effectively S9s we've got here, 9 and S9. S9 means that Lewis Thompson in this case, in 3rd place there, finished 9th in the Super 1 Karting Championships last season.
So it's getting very close between Wood and York, with York right on the tail of Tom Wood. He's not going to be allowed an instant to make a mistake here. He is going to pounce. In fact, he's actually nudging him down the straight. Come on, man, put your foot down. I want to go for the win here. You've got to go a bit faster than that if you want this win. And they hang to the outside as they head through the stewardesses. The lines all change in the wet weather conditions. It's not about inside lines. It's about where you can get the most traction out of the corner. So the lines are very changeable in kart racing, particularly when the conditions are this wet. So a lot of wheel-to-wheel stuff to come from these two, but they're starting to pull out a little bit from Lewis Thompson, who's going to need something special to get back on terms with them.
9 Tom Wood and 5 Oliver York. York is the highest seed in this class this season out of the British Championship last year. Finished 5th in the British Championship. Obviously Tom Wood finished 9th. If you are new to motorsport, numbers 1 to 15 always reserved for the British Championship runners from last season. So wherever you finished in the British Championship last year, if you finished 1 to 15, that's the number you can run on your kart, or car in fact, if it's a car event, if you want to. Motorcycles even, unless you're called Valentino Rossi. Rossi's never run the 1 plate, he's always run the 46 on his bike. But I think that's something to do with his branding, Jake.
Similarly, Gordon Shedden doesn't like the idea of running with the number 1 in British touring cars. He loves 52. He said to me earlier in the season, I'll run with either 1 or 52, but I certainly haven't decided yet. So there's always a certain superstition with some drivers with their numbers. It's all about the racing on track here. We've got Lewis Thompson being hounded by the 18 of Sean Butcher, who started 4th and he's running 4th at the moment. He's certainly not letting Thompson get away. Oh, hopping over the curbs, big style there from Wood as he desperately tries to pull out a gap over Oliver York, and he's certainly doing it at the moment. There was millimetres between them on the last lap, and now there's a bit of clean air, a couple of kart lengths between them, and that's all it takes.
Yeah, you notice as they came through the chicane there, Jake, on the exit of the chicane, it's quite a high curb, just saw it there in the background, and one of the reasons you have to run a protector over your sprockets here at Rowrah. I remember Ben Barnicoat years ago taking his chain off when he was leading by an absolute mile. He had about a 10-second lead here, took his chain off through that chicane whilst leading and did his dying fly act on the corner of the circuit.
So it's never over until the finish line. And Oliver York knows that better than anybody. He's right on the tail of Tom Wood, desperately trying to get through. All it takes is one little error from the number 9, and he could get through. And there's a similar battle for 3rd place. Thompson versus Butcher. Wheel to wheel through the corners as they fly through Paddock Bend a little later on into the race. And those two still fighting, but look who's behind in 5th position. It's the 17 of Johnny Edgar. That's the man who spun going in the first chicane on the first lap. How has he pulled that back?
That's an absolutely unbelievable driving. He's going to look at this. He's right on the back of the kart in 4th place now. He's looking at a podium here, Jake, from the back of the field in the chicane. You remember, he's spun out. He's right the way down to the back of the field. He's now in 5th place and putting the karts in front under pressure.
15 years ago, we talked about a young lad called Lewis Hamilton making drives like that. Johnny Edgar is being mentioned in the same breath in my mind. This is fantastic. Up to 5th position already, and there's still a bit of a way to go. So we've got a bit of a gap now. Hang on, that's York. York is leading. So it looks like Tom Wood has made a mistake somewhere on the circuit. So that means that York is now leading Wood, and there's a bit of clear air between them. But we've got this fantastic 3-car train. Lewis Thompson, Sean Butcher, and Johnny Edgar. Now Butcher trying to make a move on Lewis Thompson, and Johnny Edgar is just sitting tight here. He's got plenty of time. All he has to do is just follow these boys round, and if they tangle with each other in the battle for 3rd position, he could snap up a very nice top 3 finish here. So down towards McRae's, and we look to see the leaders. There they are. It's still York just in front of Wood, and we've got Thompson, Butcher and Edgar in this nice little 3-car train as they head for the right-hander at Iredale's. And there's a bit of space between these 3, but look at Johnny Edgar. He is poised here. He's just getting on with things. He hasn't panicked. This is the thing. Even for a youngster, he has just got on with the job. Okay, oh no, they've tangled! The leaders, Wood and York, have come together. That's to the stewardesses, and that's made absolutely everything change. Now Thompson is your leader, Butcher is on the outside, and Edgar's got through to 2nd position. The 5 is there, York in 3rd position. Unbelievable, the entire dynamic of the race has suddenly turned on his head, and Edgar's up to 2nd. Now he's going for the lead, side by side for the lead. Edgar has gone from 5th position to 1st in a lap. I don't believe it.
Unbelievable stuff by Johnny Edgar, spun back to last place through this chicane at the start of the race. He's clearly the fastest man on the track, and as evidence there, 1:02.92 for Edgar. He's significantly quicker, has been significantly quicker than everybody else in this race, and out of the shot of the cameras, the 2 leaders obviously have tangled down in the stewardesses, and that's enabled the rest of these karts to get right onto the back of them, in fact past them, and it's Edgar that's out front. He's got 3 or 4 car lengths now, with Lewis Thompson in 2nd, York's down to 3rd, Sean Butcher still there in 4th place. There's York up the inside of the stewardesses on the Lewis Thompson, is certainly still close enough to take the win here, but Edgar's now got 8 to 10 kart lengths.
As I live and breathe, I would not have believed that was possible at the beginning of that last lap. Johnny Edgar just stayed composed, got on with it and said, right, if you guys are going to squabble, I'm just going to take it. This is absolutely magnificent from Johnny Edgar. He's really proved to be the mature man here. And as they come over the start-finish line, 2 laps to go, and Johnny Edgar has actually got himself a nice bit of a gap here, because York is up to 2nd place, past Lewis Thompson, and Johnny Edgar, the man who spun on the 3rd chicane down to last place, has somehow found his way through to the front. He looks behind him, and he's got space to make a bit of a gap here. This is absolutely brilliant driving from Johnny Edgar. Now the battle for 2nd place on again. Thompson trying to make his move on Oliver York, and Butcher is still there. He's got a nice toe out of the hairpin there at Iredale's, and he's going to make his move perhaps around the outside. He almost overshoots straight into the gravel. Really pushing hard there. And the battle for 2nd position is far from over, but as far as Johnny Edgar is concerned, this race is done. He wants to pull away and get this victory. What a drive.
Indeed, what a drive. His grandfather, Terry Edgar, we saw interviewed earlier, was a British champion. His father was a multiple British champion. His uncle was a multiple British champion. I tipped him when he was 3 years of age to win the British Cadet title in 2014. That's next season. He may well do that this season. We're at Rowrah next weekend. The next round of the Super 1 British Karting Championships is next weekend here at Rowrah, and this all bodes well for Johnny. We're not filming that event, but he'll be looking for another decent result there. Half a lap remaining as he comes through Iredale's for the last time.
There must be something in the water in the Edgar household. They are very good indeed at breeding champions. With half a lap to go, we are about to see another generation in the Edgar household take a very crucial victory, the British Open for Coma Cadets. What an amazing performance. We have to give it to him. A genius drive just when we thought it was all over for him and he would have to settle for a lower position. Johnny didn't. He fought for it tooth and nail, was not prepared to say die, into paddock bend for the last time. That is without a doubt one of the greatest victories I've ever seen in kart racing. Johnny Edgar takes it from York and Butcher.
Johnny, your dad was a multiple British champion, your uncle was a multiple British champion, your granddad was British champion. You are the British Open champion at just 9 years of age. Congratulations, a fantastic race. Just talk us through it from your point of view.
At the start I got hit and I dropped to the back, and then I was catching and I got through to 5th, and then Oliver York and Tom Wood had an incident at Cliff Face, and then Sean Butcher and Lewis Thompson, who were in a group, and then they got stuck behind Oliver York when he got set off again, and I passed Oliver York and Sean Butcher into the right going down the hill, and then into the pit corner I passed Lewis Thompson, and then I just got a little bit of a gap, and on the last lap I didn't have to defend. And I'd just like to thank Fusion Motorsport and my family, and Craig Boyd for being my mechanic, and John Davis for doing my engines.
We're back after the break with more from Rara. If that's what the racing is going to be like today, bring it on.